Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. Chapter 1. How Robinson First Went to Sea and How He Was Shipwrecked. Long, long ago, there lived in the town of York a boy. His name was Robinson Crusoe. He never saw the sea when he was young, but he always wanted to be a sailor. He wanted to go away in a ship to visit strange foreign countries. He thought that if he could do that, he would be very happy. But his father wanted him to be a lawyer. His father often talked to Robinson. He told him about the terrible things that could happen if he went away. He said that people who stayed at home were always the happiest. He told him how Robinson's brother had gone away and died in the war. So Robinson promised that he would give up wanting to be a sailor. But in a few days, the feeling came back again. He asked his mother to ask his father to let him go on just one trip. But his mother was very angry. His father said, "If he goes abroad, he will be the most miserable man that ever was born. I cannot agree to that." Robinson stayed at home for another year. He was 19 years old. All the time he was thinking about the sea. But one day he went to visit Hull, a big town by the sea. He went to say goodbye to one of his friends who was going to London. He could not say no to the chance. He did not even send a message to his father and mother. He went on his friend's ship and sailed away. But when the wind began to blow and the waves got big, poor Robinson became very frightened and sick. He said to himself that if he ever got to land, he would go straight home and never leave it again. He felt terrible until the wind stopped blowing. His friend and the sailors laughed at him. They called him stupid, but he soon forgot all his thoughts about going back home when the weather turned nice and the sun began to shine. But after a few days, on the way to London, they had to stop and wait for a good wind. In those days, there were no modern ships. Ships had only sails to help them move. So if there was no wind, or the wind blew the wrong way, they had to wait until a good wind came. While they waited at Yarmouth, the weather became very bad. There was a great storm. The sea was so dangerous that the captain fired guns to show that his ship wanted help. So a boat from another ship came and took Robinson and all the men just before their ship sank. They got to land at last, very wet and unhappy. They lost all their clothes except what they wore, but Robinson had some money in his pocket. He went on to London by land, thinking that if he returned home now, people would laugh at him. In London, he made friends with a ship's captain. The captain had just come home from a trip to the Guinea coast. The captain was so pleased with the money he had made there that he made Robinson want to go with him on his next trip. So Robinson took with him toys and other things to sell to the people in Africa. There, he got so much gold for these things that he thought he would soon make his fortune this way. And so he went on a second trip. But this time, he was not so lucky. Before they reached the African coast, one morning, very early, they saw another ship. They were sure it was a pirate ship. This other ship was so fast that before night, it had come up to Robinson's ship. Robinson's ship did not have as many men or as many guns as the pirate ship. So the pirates soon took Robinson and all his men as prisoners and made them slaves. The pirate captain took Robinson as his own slave. He made him work in his garden and house. Sometimes he made him look after his ship when it was in port, but he never took him away on a trip. For 2 years, Robinson lived like this, very unhappy, and always thinking how he could escape. At last, when the captain was at home longer than usual, he began to go out fishing in a boat 2 or 3 times a week. He took Robinson, who was very good at fishing, and a black boy named Zuri with him. One day he ordered Robinson to put food, water, guns, and powder on a big boat. The pirates had taken this boat from an English ship. Robinson had to be ready to go fishing with the captain and some of his friends. But at the last moment the captain's friends could not come. So Robinson was told to go out in the boat with one of the captain's men and with Zuri to catch fish for dinner. Then Robinson thought that his chance to escape had come. He talked to the man, who was not very clever. He made him put more food and water on the boat. Robinson said, "We must not take what was meant for our master," and then he got the man to bring more powder so that they could kill some birds to eat. When they had gone out about a mile, they put down the sail and began to fish. But Robinson pretended that he could not catch anything there. He said that they should go further out. When they had gone so far that nobody on land could see what they were doing, Robinson pretended to fish again. But this time he waited for his chance. When the man was not looking, he came behind him and threw him in the water. Robinson knew that the man could swim very well, and could easily reach the land. Then Robinson sailed away with Hury down the coast to the south. He did not know what country he was going to, but he only wanted to get away from the pirates and to be free again. For long days and nights they sailed. Sometimes they went close to the land, but they were afraid to go on land very often because of the wild animals and the people who lived there. Many times they saw large lions come down to the beach. Once Robinson shot one that he saw sleeping and took its skin to make a bed for himself on the boat. At last, after some weeks, when they had gone south as far as the great cape that is called Cape Verde, they saw a Portuguese ship. This ship took them on board. It was not easy for Robinson to tell who he was, because he could not speak Portuguese, but everybody was very kind to him. They bought his boat and his guns and everything that he had. They even bought poor Hury, who was a black slave and could be sold just like an animal. So, when they got to Brazil, where the ship was going, Robinson had enough money to buy a plantation. He grew sugar and other plants there for 4 years. He was very happy for a time and made some money, but he could never be happy for very long. So when some of his neighbors asked him if he would sail on a ship to the Guinea coast to get slaves for them, he went. They agreed to pay him for his effort, and get some of the slaves to work on his plantation when he came back. 12 days after the ship sailed, a terrible storm came. They were pushed far from where they wanted to go. Great angry seas broke over the ship, taking everything it could be moved. A man and a boy were carried into the water and died. No one on the ship expected to live. This storm was followed by another, even worse. The wind was terrible, and the weather was thick with rain. Then early one morning land was seen through the rain, but almost at once the ship hit a sandbank. In an instant the sails were broken, and made such noise that no one could hear the captain's orders. Waves poured over the ship, and the ship hit the sand so badly that the masts broke off near the base and fell into the sea. With great difficulty they put the only boat left on the ship in the water. Everybody got into it. They went towards the land, hoping to find some quiet water. But before they could reach the land, a huge grey wave, as big as the side of a house, came up behind them. Before anyone could even cry out, it turned the boat over, and they were all left in the water. Robinson was a very good swimmer, but no man could swim in such a sea. It was only good luck that brought him at last safely to land. Big wave after big wave pushed him further up the beach, rolling him over and over until he was left beside a rock. But before the next wave could come up, perhaps to pull him back into the sea, he was able to jump up and run for his life. And so he got safely away from the water and lay down upon the grass. But of all the people on board the ship, Robinson was the only one who did not die.